See, every tear, every confession built a bridge where walls once stood. There were moments when I wanted to give up, to escape the weight of honesty, but then you'd reach for my hand, grounding me, reminding me why we were doing this. And slowly, the pain began to fade, replaced by something gentler, purer, a love reborn, not from illusion, but from truth. I learned that forever isn't built from the easy days. It's carved from the moments that nearly break you. It's the fight that leaves you gasping for air, but teaches you how to breathe together again. It's choosing each other when it would be easier to walk away. You showed me that love isn't always soft. It's fierce, it's messy, it's human. It demands that we show up even when we're scared. The night we made peace, lying side by side in the dark, I remember whispering, we almost lost everything. You smiled sadly and said, sometimes we have to lose our way to see what's worth finding. And in that instant, I understood. You weren't just my lover. You were my mirror, showing me every part of myself I had hidden. The fight didn't destroy us. It stripped us down until only truth remained. And from that truth, we began again. Stronger, unshakable, infinite. Days turned into weeks and the world around us softened. The tension that once filled the air was replaced with laughter, quiet moments of tenderness, and the kind of comfort that comes only after surviving the storm. I noticed little things, how you looked at me differently, with patience instead of pride, how I reached for you without hesitation, trusting again in what we'd rebuilt. We learned to talk before resentment could grow roots, to listen before judgment could take hold. The more we practiced love like that, the more we became what we always should have been, partners, equals, soulmates. The fight became a memory, not a wound, a reminder of where we'd been and how far we'd come. Sometimes late at night, I think about that first argument and smile, realizing that what once felt like the end was actually our beginning. The fire that nearly burned us down had also forged us into something unbreakable. You once told me that the heart remembers not the words said in anger, but the love that followed. I didn't believe you then, but now I do. The echoes of that fight no longer hurt. They remind me of our strength. Every scar we carry is proof that we chose to stay when leaving would have been easier, and that's what makes this love extraordinary. We didn't build it on perfection. We built it on forgiveness, on persistence, on the stubborn belief that we were worth fighting for. There are still moments when we stumble, when old fears whisper in our ears, but we face them differently now. We know that love isn't about avoiding pain, it's about facing it together, hand in hand, refusing to let it define us. You became my calm after chaos, my peace after the storm, and every time I look at you, I see not the fight that broke us, but the love that healed us. Now, when people ask how we lasted, I tell them the truth. We didn't last. We chose. Every day, in every moment, we chose each other again. Love, I've learned, isn't a feeling you fall into. It's a decision you keep making, even when it's hard. Our fight was proof of that choice. It taught us to communicate, to forgive, to understand that vulnerability is strength, not weakness. It showed us that love doesn't die in the midst of conflict, of not the perfect version, but the real one, the one who faltered, doubted, hurt, and still chose to stay. The last time we had to prove ourselves wasn't about convincing the world. It was about reminding each other that we were worth the effort, that love was still worth every ache, every tear, every long night spent finding our way back to us. You turned away for a moment, your breath catching like the sound of something breaking softly. What if love isn't enough anymore? You asked, your voice trembling. I wanted to say it always is, but I knew love isn't magic. It's choice. It's the decision to keep believing when everything else has fallen apart. So instead I said, then we'll make it enough. You looked at me, tears glistening and I saw the war in your eyes begin to quiet. Love is never certain. It's built on faith that tomorrow will still hold a reason to stay. And in that fragile moment, as we stood between what was and what could be, I realized this wasn't our end. This was our test. The last time we need to prove that what we had was stronger than fear. The night deepened, shadows tracing the walls like ghosts of what we used to be. I reached for you again, and this time you didn't pull away. Our hands met, hesitant at first, then firm. Two broken souls finding solace in the same heartbeat. I felt your warmth seep into my skin, melting away the chill of all the distance we'd built. The silence shifted, no longer heavy, but healing. There was no need for explanations or apologies, just presence, just truth. For the first time in a long time, we weren't trying to win or prove or justify. We were simply being. Two people who had hurt each other deeply and still found the courage to love anyway. That, I realized, was proof enough. As the hours passed, the world outside disappeared, leaving only us and the quiet promise of beginning again. We didn't need grand gestures or perfect words, just the simple act of staying. Love, after all, isn't measured by how loudly it shouts, but by how quietly it endures. We had been through storms that should have destroyed us, but somehow we were still here. That had to mean something. I brushed my fingers against your face, memorizing the lines I'd almost forgotten how to trace. You leaned into my touch, and in that small gesture, forgiveness bloomed. It wasn't about forgetting, it was about choosing to see beyond the pain. The last time we had to prove ourselves, we did it. Not with words, but with silence, with staying, with love that refused to die quietly. When dawn came, it painted the room in shades of gold and truth. I watched the light fall across your face and felt something inside me settle. We didn't need to prove anything anymore. We had survived distance, doubt, and despair, and now we had survived ourselves. I realized that love's truest proof is not in passion or promises, but in perseverance. We had fallen and risen more times than I could count. Yet somehow, every time we reached for each other, it felt new. The world might never understand what kept us together, but that didn't matter. This love was ours, raw, imperfect, indestructible. As you opened your eyes and smiled, I knew we had finally passed the last test. We had nothing left to prove, only everything left to live. And so I whispered the only truth that mattered. We made it. The words felt small compared to everything we'd endured, but they carried the weight of 1,000 silent battles.